Welcome back. Our GMC Sierra X or tweet of the night comes from the Penguins. We're all on the same team when it comes to fighting cancer. In support of Hockey Fights Cancer Month, Chris Letang and Sidney Crosby made a visit to the Hillman Cancer Institute to support patients, family members, and healthcare workers battling cancer. Those guys are terrific, invested in this community. Can't say enough about them, specifically Letang and Sidney Crosby, who had his point-scoring streak end the other day. They'll start a new one hopefully tomorrow. The Rangers come to town. There's news there as Ricard Raquel, Chad Ruedel now are on injured reserve, and Brian Rust has some injury problems as well. But let's get right to the phones, Andrew. There are a lot of them. We'll begin with our number one Cochrane Go One Better call of the night, and it will be Dan in St. Louis, Missouri. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Bob. Question I have for you is Omar Khan did a great job building the roster. How much input does he have in picking an offensive coordinator going forward?
You know, that's a good question, and I'm not sure how much he has. I still believe, and I will remain in this belief, Andrew, that Mike Tomlin will still pick whoever is the next offensive coordinator. Now, you may say, well, based on what's happened here, maybe he shouldn't be the only one involved in this. I'm sure he listens to a lot of people, but I think ultimately this is still going to be his call.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about Omar Khan's role in this, and I think it's minimal to none. The last thing I'd want if I'm Omar Khan, given the way things work over there, is if Tomlin got wind that Khan went to Art Rooney and said, we need to make a coordinator change, and then Rooney did it, then that's going to create, I think, a fracture or fissure between Tomlin and Khan. Because now Tomlin might feel like Khan went over his head. I think in this situation, there's separation of church and state. I don't think Omar Khan tells Mike Tomlin what to do with his coaches, and I don't think Mike Tomlin tells Omar Khan what to do with his scouts. I think in that situation, they both have they both have the power over their domain. But I don't think that precludes the owner from getting involved in the next offensive coordinator search, Bob, and we saw him do that with Todd Haley 10 years ago.
He can get involved, but I still think when it comes right down to it, that's part of the assignment and the responsibility that was given to Mike Tomlin. I still think he will be ultimately the say in that. We'll see how it goes. And some people on Twitter are wondering about Mike Sullivan. You know, the only way that happens is if they turn into, one of the top offenses in the game, and there's evidence there that he was a big reason for it, but I just do not think they're going to return to their roles, and I think they'll bring in somebody new from the outside, and that'll take some time. We'll see how that goes. In the meantime, let's go to Bill in Cranberry. Bill, how are you today, and welcome to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Thank you, Bob, for taking my call. Andrew and Bob, I got to ask a question. Last 3 years with the Steelers, the common thread in this whole situation for the offense was Matt Canada. And I know that there's a question about Kenny Pickett, but when you compare the offenses with Ben Roethlisberger running it, there's no way you can say Ben Roethlisberger was not a good quarterback, but the offense was looking the same even when Ben was there.
Well, I mean, this is late in Ben's career. He did take over the situation in the fourth quarter of games and decided to do it his way. But he was still 39 years old or whatever he was. He didn't have the same mobility. I think that factored in. A bigger point here is that Mike Tomlin has had opportunities to make changes here with Matt Canada, and instead, Andrew, over the years, he's doubled down on keeping him. So that's why this is kind of the way it happened today, a little caught me off guard. I didn't expect to see it on a Tuesday before a press conference, given the fact that they're in between AFC North rival games and a big one to boot coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, that's why I think there's a lot of teeth to what Dulac reported. I mean, if you heard Mike Tomlin, and you did after the game, he didn't sound like a coach that was on the verge of firing his offensive coordinator. In fact, he was gushing about the Browns' defense and didn't seem all that disappointed in what his offense did, because he painted the picture that it was expected in that matchup on the road against Cleveland. And then just the whole way they handled it. Why would you bring the players in on Monday, have them meet as a group and go over things, and still have Matt Canada leading those meetings with the offensive players, Bob, if your goal was to fire him the next day?
All right, we're going to take a break here. We have Jim, we have Nick, we have James and John. We'll get to your calls right after we take a short time out. You're listening and watching the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call right here on KDKA Plus and simulcast on 93.7 The Fan.